We've just covered 5 different traditions that Christians have held in regards to politics. And if you haven't watched those segments, I would encourage you to do so. One thing that I didn't hear you mention, Amy, was the Baptist tradition. And I'm Baptist,
right.
and I'm guessing that there's a few Baptists watching this.
Right.
So what do we do? Are we left out of this?
You're not left. Well, you're left out in some ways, and you're not left out in others. That's a great question. So the Baptist tradition, and this is one that's complicated because if you ask Baptist and Anabaptist historians, they don't completely agree. But from what I can tell, the major stream of thought would suggest that the modern Baptist tradition is one that comes more out of England from the Puritans and from the Separatists than from the Anabaptist tradition from the radical reformers in continental Europe. So there are similar, the belief in believers' baptism is very central. This understanding of separation of church and state is also deep in both of these traditions. But we're looking at 2 very different traditions that have lived out in different ways. And the place where I see such distinction from a political perspective is sort of this individual versus communal understanding. So the Anabaptists have a much more communal theology. They're thinking a lot more about what does it mean to live together as believers, and what is our communal witness? And you see that working out in their belief and practice. Where the Baptist Church, one of its great strengths is its emphasis on individual faith and practice, and what does it mean for individual believers to live out their faith. There are other traditions too we could have talked about. The Methodist or Wesleyan tradition is a large tradition. It's important, but again, it's focusing much more on individual piety, what it means to be an individual believer and to live out our faith that way. Necessarily, neither of these traditions really have a robust political theology. They have important teachings on other things, but they're not thinking so much about what does it mean to work collectively. Most of the writing and the teaching is focusing on what does it mean to live out the individual Christian life. So is this group in my book? Not directly. Why? Because this just is not one of the traditions that's speaking most specifically to these questions. And that's again why I want people to realize we can learn from other traditions. And many people, I hope, will read this book outside of these traditions. It's not expected that you're in the tradition. But what can we learn from these traditions about communal behavior and what it means to interact as Christians in politics and government? What are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, what are the things to help us have this conversation more robustly? In the same way, I hope that Baptists and Wesleyans and others can be helping more communal traditions think more about what does it mean for the life of an individual believer and how can we be shaping our own spiritual formation.